All right, so Chris and I were talking as hiring managers who have hired other people and managed other teams. One of the things that we look for are good questions. So we're going to talk about a couple of questions that a stellar candidate would ask or could ask in an interview.
Before we go down the list, I want to make this point. It is absolutely important that you are engaged in the interview. And what that means is that you are listening, hearing, and then responding relevantly. Instead of just hearing the response and then going down to your next list of questions or your next question on your list, you're actually hearing that and then interpreting it to make a relevant response. And that, to me, is the key. Our list is important, but I would call them conversation starters.
Yeah.
Because it should be a back and forth dialogue. But if you want a list of conversation starters, here we go.
Yeah, so one idea is, how can I be successful in this role?
What you're looking for in this question is the hiring manager telling you immediately what they are expecting, whether that's hours, show up at this time, leave at this time, whether that's performance, I expect you to turn it in, or deadlines, don't be late. They're telling you what is important to them so that they see you in this role as successful. Now, what would be a good follow-up?
I think my personal opinion is asking, okay, all right, how have people performed in this role before? If it's not a new role, or if it's a role that people have had before and they've moved on to other roles, hey, how have people performed, or what have they done in this role before, to get an idea, hey, are the things that the manager is telling me, hey, this is what success looks like, is that something new? Or, hey, is that something the company's been doing for a while? Because if it's new, then, hey, I got a little bit more flexibility in how I go about it.
Yes, and I would follow with that is, was that person promoted? Did they go to a different department? Did they take a new role in your group, or did they leave the company? Because if they were promoted, that's your script for how to be successful. They're telling you that right now. If they left the company, then maybe I don't really know. Next question.
I would say the next would be, what are some of the challenges that the team has that, hey, this role can help out with?
So this one is another great conversation starter. And I mentioned before in another podcast that a lot of people come into interviews talking about the good. This is how great the company is. This is how big the company is. These are the hours that we work. This is the flexibility that we have. And immediately someone's saying, oh, I would love to take this role. This sounds like a great role next for me. And you're like, but you don't really even understand the challenges. You never even talked about the difficulty that we have in the role.
Yes.
Whether that's the hiring manager being difficult, let me tell you what I find or what I think is difficult. Or whether that's challenges overall in the position itself. Maybe it's systems. Maybe it's, I don't know, data.
Yeah.
Pulling the data, analyzing the data. You don't really know.
I agree. I mean, because my personal opinion is, if a person can say that, hey, you know what, I really want to do this job, it's a perfect job for me, and you only know the good, I kind of question the person's judgment or the person's intentions about this, because I'm like, how do you really know that you really want the job if you don't have a good idea, hey, what is the good, what is the bad? I mean, because if you want to jump into a long-term employment relationship with anyone and you only know the good, what I'm concerned about is the second that something bad happens in the job, you're going to be a flight risk.
Exactly. And a lot of people put their good foot forward in the first 20 minutes, and then after that, when something turns bad, then they're not willing to work. This is not what I signed up for, and I need to leave right now. And what a hiring manager is looking for is someone to come in, be engaged, and be committed to the team. I'll say this one thing here. I saw it on LinkedIn, maybe Facebook. It is great to work for a great boss at a bad company than work for a bad boss at a good company. And where do you find that out at? In the interview.
Yes, I agree. I agree. And the other question I think that you can ask if you're a stellar candidate is, once you've kind of got through some of the basics and the context of the role, and again, asking this in context, is there anything that the hiring manager is doing that you can help take off their plate so they can do other things?
Yes. Now imagine, set the scene. You got the hiring manager running around all day, and all of a sudden this interview pops up, this interview reminder pops up. They run and they print the interview or the resume, they're taking a look at it, now they're sitting down with you, and one of your questions back to them is, how can I help you? Again, make sure it's in the context of the conversation. Don't lead with this. But if you understand and they've already talked about the challenges, and then you come back with, how can I help you be more successful, or what can I take off of your plate? The hiring manager may look at you as, wow, this person is actually engaged in the conversation. They understand the challenges that I'm dealing with, and they want to help me. We can all move up. As the work comes down, everyone moves up the more you take on. And that is what that question will do.
Yes, and I would say for me, the last question I would pose is related, and this is relevant for no matter where you're working in an organization. It is, what are the customers like that this role supports? And I believe that would be customers, it may be external, and it may be internal customers, because when you understand your customers better, or the people who need the product or the information that you produce, when you understand them better, you can actually figure out better ways to do your job so that you're delivering a better product to your customers, which helps you be more successful.
Yes. So I'm pretty sure we've all heard of that friend or have that person who complained every time their work phone rings, or you hear them going off of people at work. And even though they're not an external customer facing role, that may be finance on the other line. There may be operations on the other line. That may be the CFO or your boss's boss's boss. And if you are nasty on the phone, then even though it's internal, that's still your customer. That person is calling you to get information. That person is calling you to understand what's going on. And so understanding who your customers are. Now, granted, you shouldn't be nasty on the phone to anybody, especially at work. But in a work setting, understanding who are the important people that could be calling me that we need to make sure that we support is key, because it's not just your boss. It's not just the people that you work around or sit around. It's people from all over the country, maybe all over the world, that's calling you to get information, or will be calling you to get information.
Perfect. So there you have it. If you're looking for great conversation starters, these are questions that are great to, as we said, not just for you to ask a question and get the person interviewing you just to give an answer, but to actually start a dialogue on the subject matter. And it helps. I mean, it is extremely helpful when you are actually present in the interview, when you are paying attention, you are adjusting these questions in a way that's relevant, and you are asking them at a time that makes sense for the discussion that you're already having with the people that are interviewing you. So thank you, Chris, for joining me on this episode. And thank you for tuning in. Until next time.
And good luck.